Hi there, folks. Chris McLean back with another episode of the show. And today I'm talking with Kylie from the Lime Agency. And they know the importance of staying ahead of taste, trends, and tech innovations. As a full service agency of top level talent, their team are rich in both expertise and experience when it comes to brand strategies, talent management, and casting. They offer a diverse menu of skilled services, including talent management, casting, advertising, influencer marketing, and PR. When it comes to dynamic content and industry-leading brand experiences, they stop traffic, turn heads, make you look, start conversations, and form relationships, and they stay ahead of the curve. Kylie's been at this for some time. She's got a heck of a journey to take us through today, ups and downs and multiple agencies and all sorts of things. So, Kylie, thank you so much for dropping by.
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate that.
No, absolute pleasure. So you've got a wealth of information and a wealth of knowledge. You were talking before we dropped in here live about sort of your experience and how vast that is and all the different things that you've done. You've started things, sold things, joined things, merged things, and sort of come full cycle into another agency recently. So long story short, or short story long, so take us through that process as much as you can from kind of when you got started in the industry to what today looks like for you.
Back in my day when I was in high school, I always wanted to get into advertising after watching Melrose Place. And my careers advisor at the time didn't really understand the courses that I should be applying for. And so I found out about ad school through Reader's Digest back in the day. I applied for ad school and got accepted into it. And I turned up in my school uniform after school at J. Water Thompson. And the creative guys looked at me and said, are you at school still? And I said, yes. And they said, oh, this is actually for people in the industry. And I said, well, when I applied, it didn't actually say that I couldn't apply for it. So I actually had to be accepted into ad school. So I did 3 months of ad school and I absolutely loved it. And that was sort of how I sort of got interested in the industry. But again, I didn't really know how to start studying for it. And I ended up doing accounting and got my foot in the door in an agency through accounting. And so basically started in an accounting department for an agency called Finlay Priest Advertising, and then was promoted to the financial controller and then became operations manager at a very young age. So I learned all the facets of running an agency at a very young age with a great mentor in Terence Priest. Yeah. And then after a number of years there, I realised I wanted to get into the account service side of things. So I jumped over to an activations agency and fell in love with below the line marketing. And after a few years in a couple of different agencies, I branched out on my own. And I had 2 great clients that backed me in Phillips and Arnott's Biscuits. And at 29, I launched my own agency called Kaleidoscope Marketing. And from there, 7 years later, sold that business to the Photon Group, which is now called Enero, and did an earn-out period with them and had a great time working with them and growing the agency and growing the team. And then they had a change of direction and change of CEO. And so my earn-out had finished and I was put on garden leave. I didn't even know what garden leave was, but it's where they pay you to actually not start an agency and not work in the industry for a year. And then I used that year off to start a family. So I have a little girl who's now 10. And then I was headhunted back into the industry to take up the reins of managing director for Pollination, which was a direct competitor of mine when I had Kaleidoscope, that had sold their business into the Dentsu Aegis network. And so I moved across there to take the reins up and was charged with turning the business around and growing the business and, growing their biggest client, which was CUB, and also changing the culture. And in a very short period of time, I managed to do all of that and really handpick some of the people in the team to step up into more senior roles, and also recognise that we wanted to become what's called a network brand. So when we had acquired an agency in New York called MKTG, I had discussions with them about changing the name in Australia to that. And after the brand had been in the market for 22 years, there was a lot of reservations around changing the name of Pollination over to MKTG, which was an unknown brand in the market. But we successfully did that. And the turnaround of the agency, about a year after I got into the business, we were the most awarded below-the-line activations agency in Australia for 2 years running, and had some very successful campaigns. Notably, one was called Catch a Million Tui in New Zealand, and we had the very successful VB campaigns running in Australia. And we run a Cannes line with the Tui Catch a Million campaign, which was great. And then from
Did
there...
Did you get to go to Cannes to receive it?
We were over in Cannes, yes, and I was judging actually in Cannes, which was fantastic.
Cool.
And then from there, I was on garden leave again after 4 years, because they wanted to move the role to Melbourne, which I was unable to move and relocate, and decided it was time for me to probably look at my next thing. And so I went on garden leave again, and I took up a 12-month contract with CommBank. And I worked as a marketing and events manager for the Women in Focus division, which was a division that looked after women entrepreneurs. And myself being one of those members of Women in Focus, I was able to work with so many friends and colleagues that I know who run businesses all around Australia in so many different industries, and run the conferences, run the events for CommBank, which I had a ball. I absolutely loved it. And then from there, I took up an MD role running a digital marketing agency that specialised in education. And then I had the itch and the burn to, get back into my own business. So a month before the pandemic hit, I resigned the agency and then started my new business in the middle of a pandemic.
Good timing.
But yeah, well, there's never good timing really to start anything. But exactly. But yeah, I had over the years worked with a number of different talent in campaigns and for various different things, as speakers and whatnot. And I called upon them to see if I started this business, would they come with me? And a lot of them said that they would love to work with me. So I started the business with probably about 10 talent. And today we've grown that to 25 talent. And I have 3 people on the team now. And we're going really well. I mean, I get a lot of great feedback from the industry saying that with my marketing experience, I'm able to help, my talent build their own brand, but also worked quite cohesively with agencies and understand briefs, understand, the objectives that what they're wanting to achieve out of influencer campaigns or social media campaigns, and, using talent for media spokespersons, brand ambassadorships, and the likes of those. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it myself, but I'm not enjoying working at home. A lot of people love working from home, but I love being in an office with the team. So can't wait to get back to that.
Yeah. Well, such a diverse range of experience that you've had over that time, and all those different roles and sort of different shapes of different types of agencies. What would you say that there was a common thread that kind of ran through all of that? I mean, from accounting to experiential to events to talent management to digital, it seems like kind of a whole lot of different stuff. But was there a common thread that you've sort of ever identified that sort of ran through all of that stuff for you?
Definitely numbers. I'm so glad that I did have an accounting background, because you really have to know your numbers. And if you're not across your numbers, you're going to fail. So I think to have that background and to have that as a solid base is really important. And if you're not across your numbers, then I suggest that you do, especially budgeting, forecasting, understanding, peaks and troughs, and understanding your business, how that flows throughout the year. Because if you're not watching your numbers, and I've seen a lot of friends in the industry who have taken their eyes off the numbers, and as a result, they've lost their agencies. So that is a common theme throughout. But also people is, people over profit. Profit's really important, but your people are far more important. And it's really important to understand the hiring process, getting the right people on board with the right skill sets, and nurturing those people and looking after them. Don't just, hire them and then forget about them. I think everybody that's worked with me knows that I love to build a great culture. I really love to look after my people. I allow my people to step up and take charge and be accountable as well. So I think people and your numbers are probably the 2 most important things, no matter what area that you specialize in your agencies.
Yeah. I love that. There's a simplification of what really matters in an agency. But that first thing that you talk about there, that numbers, that is something like just basic financial literacy, is something I see a lot of agency owners miss, or just don't have that background, because we come from, we're the creative, right? We're the creator,
Yes.
we're the developer, the designer, the technician, and then suddenly we go, okay, I'm going to go move from freelance or contract, and I'm going to do this agency thing now and start hiring people and growing. And now I've got this business hat. I'm like, oh, should I actually? You say you missed that numbers because you've never had to really do that.
Yes.
Well, what are
and
if
they don't have a bookkeeper, if they have a bookkeeper and they think the bookkeeper just crunches the numbers and doesn't really give them an overview, I would suggest that you hire a virtual CFO. Just get somebody who can come in once a month and double check your numbers and give you those really important top line, forecasts and things like that, and foresee what's coming up for your business. Because a lot of bookkeepers can't do that, and a lot of agencies that we're small and we don't have the funds to put on a CFO. So hiring someone virtually is a fraction of the cost, but it will save you in the long run. So I think that's something to really consider as well.
Yeah. So if I was going to look at foundational numbers, if I was tracking some metrics in my agency, what are the core things that I'm looking at? What are those sort of top line numbers? Is it P&L? Is it cash flow? Is it what's coming in next month? Is it just basic income and expenses? What are some of the essential things that I need to be looking at?
We definitely need to be looking at your P&L, but your cash flow is really important as well, because if you don't have cash, you're in trouble. And you've got to really have a 6-month pipeline as well. So you've got to understand, for your next 6 months, really looking forward to that cash flow wise, you need to be able to go, okay, I need to be able to have, if I can't get income coming in, I've got to be able to survive for 6 months on what I've actually got in the coffers. So that's really important. And, getting your team all involved in it as well. So, all of my agencies, I would always have a lot of the team members involved in the discussions around pipeline, cash flow forecasts and things like that. And whilst they didn't understand P&L and how to read a P&L, they certainly were across, each team was across what their forecasts looked like, what their profitability looked like. And, we always worked on a 35% margin. So, making sure that each of the projects coming in, that we have those margins, really healthy margins in there, because if we weren't making that profit, then we knew that we weren't able to meet the commitments of the overheads. And, I always drummed it into the team, depending on the agency size that I was working at the time, how much it costs to open the doors every day. So if the doors cost $10,000 every day, you got to think, okay, well, we should be bringing in $100,000 to cover that $10,000 sort of thing.
Yeah. So is there a calculation that you had there? So is it a 10x to be safe? So that 35, I'm assuming it's a 35% net margin. And you're looking at 60, 70 gross?
Yes.
Is that
those
sorts of numbers?
Definitely. Yes. Absolutely.
So you're sort of looking at, say, just to open the doors, it's going to cost me 10 grand a day. So I need to be generating 10x. 7x, 8x?
Yes.
Just 10x is a good?
10x is good, but 7x is probably what you should be looking at. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that this is some stuff that seems fairly basic, but a lot of people do miss it because you don't have that accounting and numbers is. I mean, I was never good at maths and numbers and accounting, and all that stuff was something, again, that was kind of forced upon me as a business owner. Like, well, no one else is going to do it. So you kind of work it out and figure it out until you can bring in better people.
And so many people too look at their bank accounts and go, oh, I've got money, but your bank account balance is not your profit. So, again, I've seen creatives with creative businesses fall into that trap and thinking they've got money in the bank. So they start spending, and then the bills are all got to be paid. And they're going, oh, hang on a minute, I've got to go overdraft. What's happening? I thought I had money. Yeah. And, you don't ever look at your bank account balance thinking that money is there to spend. So you've got to be really, really careful. And, every dollar counts. You've got to make sure that you make it work as hard as it can for you. So, you know, when you got to look at your overheads, you got to look at, you know, all your little hidden costs as well, that, you know, all the software costs that, you know, they add up. You know, you might be paying $20 a month for something. All subscriptions, they add up. And salaries obviously as well. But also what's really important as a business owner is making sure that you are paying yourself as well, because a lot of us tend to get stuck in the rut and go, I'm just going to keep, like, as entrepreneurs, you know, you work more than 60 hours a week. We're working day and night, and then, you know, we're paying everybody else, paying all the bills, but then you're not paying yourself. So you're wearing yourself down. So you've got to make sure that you cover your own costs as well.
Yeah. There's a real emotional piece there, that you're paying everybody else and you're growing a business, but that basic thing of paying yourself, or we're talking about paying yourself first a lot of the time, but making sure that there's something to compensate yourself for the energy, for the attention, for the drain, for the hours, for the effort. You need to have a monetary. It's like otherwise it's like having a really shitty job, right?
That's right.
You're working 70 hours and getting paid peanuts. You're doing as much as you're doing this thing because you love it and you want to grow and you want to support your team. So important just for that psychic, emotional component of, okay, I'm doing all this stuff, but I can pay my own bills. I can pay my rent. You know, I'm not financially destitute myself, because that creates a terrible, a lack mindset, and that's going to proliferate through. I said that second piece, team, right? If I'm paying everybody else in the team and not paying myself, a lot of psychological stuff can start to come up.
Absolutely. Your mental health will
why am I paying him and not him, myself?
Mental health suffers, and that little voice in your head just starts saying, give up, you're not doing it, you're never going to get there, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. So how do you find that balance? We, as an agency owner, we all want to be on, you know, maybe agency owners that have come out of other agencies and be on big packages, and now it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to pay myself that. How do I compensate myself whilst growing a team, whilst maintaining a 35% margin and paying tax and paying employment taxes and all of that stuff? How do I manage that? Is it a percentage game? Do I just pick a number and set it aside? Do you have a recommendation for an agency your sort of size, or a smaller agency that's looking to grow? How do you manage that?
Definitely coming out of big agency land with big salary packages and going back in and starting your own business, it's a big shift in terms of the money doesn't flow. So it's a good idea to have some savings in the coffers to lean on, and plan for it as well, because, generally both times I've started businesses, it's been 12 months before I've actually started paying myself. So I've kept the money in the business and kept the business growing. And then after 12 months, I've started to pay myself. And, I pay myself what I need to just cover my general expenses and things like that. Not over the top, but at the end of the year, I look to pay dividends to myself. So that's sort of how I do it. But, and you're trying to keep your taxes minimal as well, because you don't want to sort of, be paying heaps of tax and company tax and also personal tax. And then obviously, I think what's really important in that first year is to actually treat yourself as well during that time. So, for myself, I make sure that I have a massage or a facial, or I take myself, out for a nice lunch with a colleague, and little things like that are really important, rather than just bottling yourself up and cutting yourself off from the world, because that's the other thing. In coming from a big agency, you're around a lot of people and you're around a lot of social activity. And when you go into your own business, you are there on your own. And, it's really important to keep that network going with your colleagues in the industry and be seen and be out, because you can fall easily into the trap of just being in your own little world, and you're wondering why things aren't going as well, like when you're running a bigger agency. So it's really important to get that balance right.
And particularly difficult in the last couple of years where it's much harder to get out and see people. Lots of Zooms. Trying to maintain that semblance of human connection virtually.
That's right.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant advice, and it's such an important thing to, like, it's difficult finding that balance of, like, I've got to pay myself this, then I got to allocate this for tax, and I got to allocate this for staff, and I want to grow, so I'm going to feed that money back into the business. So I think, like what you said up just before about having some sort of a bankroll, like I can survive for 12 months if I don't earn anything, and I can
Yes.
sponsor the business, and profits I'm reinvesting. I think that's a really important. If that's possible for you, that takes a lot of that mental stress of, well, am I going to survive this week? Can I eat this week? That sort of feast and famine cycle that new businesses can go through. So again, if you can do that, if you can have that bankroll, it's certainly something that does help. Not everybody has that. We launch at different stages and different phases, and kind of just get in and get it done. But yeah, as much as you can, take that headache away. Yeah.
And it helps having a founding client. Like if you've got a client that you've been working with that's happy to move across with you, that's a good thing too, because starting with no clients is challenging to get out there and start trying to negotiate to win a client based on what credentials, your previous credentials in your agency, but you haven't got any clients on board. So it's best to sort of like try and have something that can be a founding client for you as well, so it can immediately start getting some income coming in.
Yeah. Awesome points. That'll shift us into sort of that second big piece that you mentioned was people. In your business now, in your career, there's a lot of different aspects of people. There's the people that you hire, and you said there's the client type people. So maintaining that client relationship, that industry relationship, maintaining those connections, and particularly what you're doing now is building that bank of people for your clients. You're bringing in influencers, you're bringing in talent. So how do you manage all of that side of things? There's obviously a lot of, we talk about emotional intelligence and that ability to navigate relationships a lot in business. How do you lead people? How do you make sure that all of those different people sort of in your network are getting the right attention?
Yep. I have a passion for mentoring. I had some great mentors, I still do, in my career that really helped me navigate my career through this industry. And I've been fortunate that I've been able to give back to a lot of people as well. So I've mentored people within the businesses that I've worked in, and also outside of the businesses, and also outside of the industry. And I think what I do with in my agencies is when I first come into the agency, like when I was at a Pollination, I sit down and work with each of the individuals one-on-one and get to know them, get to know what their dreams are, what their hopes are, what their career goals are, and things like that, and really understand who they are outside of work as well, which I think is really important. You just don't get to know the person in a work sense, but also understand what their passions are outside of work, and what are their pain points as well. Are they juggling childcare? Are they living alone? Are they living with elderly parents? I mean, whatever their circumstances, it's really good to get to know each and every one of your individual team members, and then collectively as a team. Like I was running 4 teams in 4 different locations, and understanding who's their general manager, how are they leading, do they align with your values and your vision for the businesses, and are they looking after their people for you on the ground there? And then making sure that I was seen quite regularly in all of those offices, and sitting at hot desks with them. So it wasn't just me sitting in an office that they didn't feel that they could approach. It was me sitting in the trenches with them, and going along to meetings with them, and not leading the meetings all the time, just sometimes sitting there observing. But and leading, my type of leadership is that I'm always looking to educate and provide knowledge and share knowledge with my team, and allow my team to teach each other. So I always encouraged peer-to-peer learning. So, we would do things like lunchtime presentations to each other to teach each other different skills. We would have all 4 officers do Friday afternoon drinks, and also have the team sharing some of the campaigns they're working on. So each of the teams could see what each other were working on, because quite often they were just bogged down in their own clients and working on what they're working on, and not understanding what we're doing as a big agency collectively in different markets. So that was really important as well. And, also just I had mentored one of the seniors to step into a general manager role. So rather than appoint him to general manager straight away, I said to him, it's really important that the team see that you're on a journey to step into that role, and that you're growing into that role. Then they'll respect you more as a leader, rather than resent you for being promoted, thinking that you were just picked out because you're a favourite or something like that. So
right.
he learnt, over time, how to look at the numbers, how to read the numbers, how to manage the P&L, how to develop client relationships, how to win business, how to put pipelines together. And he beautifully stepped into that role, and he managed that team so fantastically. And he had the team really rally behind him as a leader. So I think that's really important. But also, I think PR for the agency, winning awards and sharing the wins with the entire agency collective. Again, they love to see that. They love to see their work out there being meaningful. And I think it really helps people to, come together and be really united. So there was a lot of different things that we did. And then we did, we gave the team, different things like, sometimes the mums needed to leave early to pick up kids, but we let the surfers, that love to have a surf in the morning, come in a little bit late. So, whether you had children or not, we tried to provide a real balance of, things that these people could actually do to enjoy their work more. So that didn't feel like they're just grinding, long hours and things like that for nothing. So we had, we had a couple of sleeping days, summer days, take a day off here and sleep, have a day, and mental health day, things like that. So not just sick leave, we offered a lot of other different types of leave as well.
Yeah, giving people that autonomy to feel like they're somewhat in control of how they work, when they work. If they need a day off, they can take it. If if they want to go surfing, they can go surfing in the morning. And that autonomy is a massive driver for culture and for people just to feel like, okay, this is a job, but it's more than a job because I'm putting myself into it and I can kind of orchestrate at least how I want to do this role.
And we had a culture day too, where we'd invite everyone to bring a dish in from their background and talk about the dish and allowed the team to learn about each other's cultures as well, which was really nice. And I think one of the other things we did was we were asked to do a pitch for the Gruen. And so we said to the creative teams, and we had some really junior team members in the creative teams. We had 2 creative teams, and we said to them, okay, here's the pitch for the show. Submit your ideas, and we'll collectively choose one to go with. I had to submit 3 actually to the show, and then they chose one to go with, and it was actually the idea of our very, very junior member of the creative team. And so I said to him, you're going to lead this. And he was like going, oh my God, I've never done anything like this before. And I said, that's fine, but we're going to handhold you, but you're going to lead this. So he led the whole shoot, the script, everything. And I presented it on the show, and we won the pitch. And they interviewed, I brought him up from the audience, and they interviewed him for the Gruen behind the scenes. And he talked about how he came up with the idea and how he executed it. And it just gave him so much pride, but also really elevated him to see that he could do something really good in the industry. And he's since, been promoted quite a number of times and gone on to work with some bigger agencies. So I think your people, you give them a go. They've all got a voice. Just because it's the junior in the team doesn't mean that they can't come up with that winning idea.
Yeah, exactly. A good idea can come from anywhere in an agency. Yeah, so having that, essentially you're talking about a very personal approach to managing an agency. You're not just the CEO leader who's over here doing the leadership stuff. You're deeply involved with each team member, understanding who they are, what they need as an individual, and then accommodating that as much as you can whilst getting shit done and making sure the agency is running to full capacity.
Absolutely. So, and now with my current agency, I'm dealing with, talent who are all very individual. So it's like getting to know them and getting to know their brand and getting to know what their hopes and desires are. Then I've got the clients, which I'm working with agencies and clients direct, so brands directly, and then also dealing with my team members. So it's wearing a lot of different hats. But I think my approach is that I'm a very authentic communicator, a very open, honest communicator, and I have time. I make time for people as well, and I'm really across detail. Like I'm a really attention to detail. So I think a lot of my clients understand that they get what they're paying for out of me is their time, and then also I find the time to mentor as well. I don't mentor hundreds of people, but I recently mentored. I was asked by Taronga Zoo to be a mentor in their Hatch program. And the marketing director there is a long-time client of mine from previous roles. And I was asked to mentor a startup in the environment space. Now, I've not worked in that space before, and it was done all via Zoom because of the pandemic. And I mentored her for 14 weeks to each stage of this program going through, but helped her with a lot of marketing, which she had no experience in marketing, and helping her with marketing, advertising, PR, and award entering and grant writing and things like that as well. She got picked at the post to win the pitch, $50,000 grant for the Hatch program, but she learnt so much through the program. But I actually got her to enter another award, which was Women of the Future for the Women's Weekly. And she won it. She was selected as the winner, and she won $100,000 package. So
there you go.
And then I finally met her.
Isn't so bad.
And then at Christmas time, I met her for a drink, and we met in person. But I felt like I know her already. And my mentoring, she just said she wouldn't be where she is today without my mentoring. And I'm so thrilled for her that she has blossomed and grown so much. And I've learned a lot about what she's doing in that industry, which I had no idea about. So it doesn't matter if you don't know that person's, expertise, background, whatever. It's understanding them as a basic human being and what their hopes and desires and dreams are, and acknowledging that.
Yeah, and so helping them facilitate their own dreams in a certain sense.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. So much, so many insights, and such a long and distinguished career. Thank you so much for dropping by and giving us all these insights. What's next for you? What's the next 3 to 5 years look like for you? Well,
hopefully it's still with the Lime Agency. I'm at the point now where I just want to have my own business and not really looking at changing careers or working for anybody else. I'm very happy working for myself again, and my next 3 to 5 years is growing this business to be one of the prominent talent management agencies in Australia. And in a very short period of time, I think I've really got the name out there. I won the B&T Casting Agent of the Year in 2021, and I'd only been in the industry for less than a year, so I'm quite proud of that achievement. And
it's amazing.
And I'm getting a lot of talent contacting me, and I don't take on every talent that contacts us, unfortunately, because we're still in startup and growth stage. But I'm very happy with the talent that we've managed to attract and sign on and work with. And it's been a privilege working with them all. So, my hope is that we grow this business both in terms of talent, but also in agency size. I love working with a team of about 6 to 7 people. So we're at 3 at the moment, but we're hoping to get another 4 or so on board. And that's where my sort of sweet spot is, I'd say.
Awesome. Love it. Wish you all the best. I'm sure all of that will come true based on where you've been and what you've done. So
thanks, Chris.
I'm sure it'll be an amazing rest of journey, or next part of your journey. If people do want to get in contact with you, have a chat to you, find out more about what you do at Lime Agency, where are some of the best places for them to do that?
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day. So I love LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me there. The website there, my email address is on the website as well. So you can contact me via email or just pick up the phone.
Okay, fantastic. And as always, I'll drop those links and all of your social contacts in the show notes so the folks at home can get in touch and come and get connected with you and pick your brain and get some of your deeper insights into all of the stuff that you're amazing at. Thank you so much. Incredible insights. Really appreciate you being so open and honest with where you've been and what you've done. And really enjoyed going into kind of the finance and money bit, because not a lot of people talk about that side of things, and it's great to get those insights into the show, because I think that'll really help a lot of people out to just get that foundational stuff that you need. Money in the business, and as I said, you need the cash coming in, and you need good people to fulfill. So get those 2 pieces right. You're on a good trajectory.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.